Hey friends, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to dive into some alarming information. This is leaked TikTok documents, an article that exposes the platform on how it's manipulating users, especially kids. Many ways we never realized how this was. In this article, I've used Google's new AI tool to create a conversation around this article and the dangers of TikTok, and the larger issue, really technology. We're going to hear a discussion created with AI that explores these ideas. I encourage you to listen closely. There's a lot to take in. Make sure to stay tuned until the end because I'll be giving my own thoughts and insights on what this all means for us as parents and why we need to take serious action to protect our kids from this kind of manipulation.
Ever open TikTok for like 2 minutes and suddenly you've lost an hour? You've sent us a ton of documents about how TikTok works, some from lawsuits, and it's pretty wild. Let's deep dive into what's really happening behind those viral dances.
Right. It's fascinating, really. What we see on TikTok, all the fun stuff, it often hides a whole different story happening behind the scenes. And today's stuff, it's essential for anyone who uses social media, honestly, or, anyone who knows someone who does, especially kids.
Yeah, makes sense. And we're jumping right in with multiple states suing TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Claiming it's designed to be addictive, and not just addictive, but particularly harmful to kids. That's a serious accusation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky's lawsuit in particular, that one's got some really interesting stuff. They accidentally revealed some internal documents, like a big time redaction error, someone must have forgotten to hit save. Kentucky Public Radio gets a hold of it, and boom, secrets revealed.
Yikes. A digital fumble for the ages.
Yeah.
But what was in these documents? What kind of evidence are we talking about?
Well, the documents, they show that TikTok knows exactly how addictive their app is. They've actually measured it. Their research says it takes about 260 videos on average, and a user is likely hooked.
260 videos. To give our listeners an idea, how long are we really talking about here?
Well, TikTok videos, they can be crazy short, some as quick as 8 seconds. So do the math, you could be addicted in under 35 minutes.
Less time than an episode of, well, most shows these days. You could literally get sucked in during a work break.
Exactly. And it's not just being glued to your phone either. TikTok's own research, it says compulsive usage, it's correlated with, and I'm quoting here, a bunch of negative mental health effects. Worse analytical skills, memory problems, difficulty thinking contextually, less depth in conversations, even less empathy, and increased anxiety. I mean, think about how often you've probably scrolled when you had stuff to do.
Oh, absolutely. I've been there.
Yeah.
But TikTok always advertises those time limit features, the take a break reminders and all. Seems like they're trying, right?
They do have those tools, yeah. But here's the catch. Their internal stuff, it shows even they know these features. They aren't that effective. Almost like an afterthought, really. One test found that their standard time limit prompt, it only dropped usage by about 1.5 minutes per day on average.
1.5 minutes, that's nothing.
Yeah. And get this, there's a quote from one of their project managers right in the documents basically saying, look, our goal isn't to make people spend less time here.
Wow. Knowing it's potentially addictive is one thing, but to not even try to reduce usage, that seems, I don't know, almost manipulative.
It definitely makes you think. And then there are those beauty filters to consider.
Oh, right. Yeah, those have blown up.
Well,
I think most of us know they're not exactly like real life, though.
you got it. And these internal documents, they confirm that TikTok is fully aware these filters can mess with your self-esteem, your body image, the whole deal. Think bold glamour. It's huge, but there's been tons of criticism for setting, frankly, unrealistic standards, especially for younger users.
Right? Teenagers especially, still figuring themselves out. It's easy to see how that could be harmful.
And this is where it gets really wild. The documents, they show TikTok actually went and changed its algorithm to specifically promote users the company thought were more attractive.
Wait, seriously. So it's not just the filters changing how people look on the app, but behind the scenes, the algorithm is picking and choosing who gets seen, like based on looks.
Exactly. It's basically pushing this very specific, maybe even impossible beauty standard, which just piles on the pressure to look a certain way.
A double whammy of unrealistic expectations, right? The filters and the algorithm working together. But are the higher-ups at TikTok aware of any of this?
Oh, they're aware, big time. The documents show that top officials at TikTok, they know exactly what their platform can do, the addictive side especially.
Okay, so what are they actually doing about it, if anything?
Well, that's where it gets a little blurry. They've got those time management tools we talked about. But looking deeper, it seems their dedication to actually fixing these issues might not be as strong as their public image suggests. There's this quote from an unnamed TikTok exec in the documents, and it's kind of chilling, honestly. They said the algorithm, it's basically competing with sleep and eating and moving around, even looking someone in the eyes.
It's a pretty stark admission. It sounds like they're admitting their platform is designed to take over our attention, potentially at the expense of basic human needs.
Right. And that brings us to another major thing these documents bring up: underage users.
Because TikTok has that rule, right? You got to be 13 or older.
Yep, they do. But the reality, according to these documents, isn't so black and white. For one thing, it's estimated that a whopping 95% of smartphone users under 17 use TikTok at least once a month.
95%, that's almost all of them.
Pretty much. And what's even more concerning is that internally, their own documents, they were actually telling moderators to be super careful about removing accounts they thought might belong to underage users.
So they're saying one thing publicly, but then doing something else entirely behind closed doors. It's pretty shady.
Yeah, it makes you question their whole thing about user safety. And when you bring in the content moderation issues...
Right, even with age restrictions, they still have to make sure the content is okay, right?
Exactly. And these documents, they don't paint a pretty picture, especially when it comes to things like, self-harm, eating disorders, stuff like that, even child safety.
You'd think that stuff would be a top priority, what with all the young people on the app.
You would think. There was actually this report pretty recently about underage users doing inappropriate stuff on TikTok Live. And get this, the company's response, internally at least, seemed way more focused on the fact that that kind of content gets a ton of engagement than actually protecting those kids.
So hold on. They're basically admitting their platform could be used to exploit children, but they don't want to do anything about it because it might hurt their numbers.
That's the gist of it, yeah. And it's not just the kids either. The documents even talk about the algorithm trapping users in these filter bubbles.
Filter bubbles. For those of us who might not know, what are those exactly?
So imagine you're scrolling through and you like a video about, say, baking.
Right.
The algorithm picks up on that and shows you more baking content, which, that's helpful, I guess. But now imagine you like a video about some political thing. The algorithm, it doesn't know the difference. It sees you engaging and feeds you more and more content that fits that viewpoint, potentially even more extreme stuff.
So you only end up seeing one side of everything.
Exactly. Like an echo chamber, where everyone agrees with you and you never have to think critically or consider other viewpoints. Which, you can see how that would be a problem.
It's like falling down a rabbit hole. You start with something totally harmless, and the next thing you know, you're knee-deep in conspiracy theories and who knows what else.
Spot on. And TikTok knows this is happening too. They even have these internal terms for it, things like pain hub and sad notes. Basically, if you start engaging with any kind of negative or harmful content, even if it's by accident, the algorithm might just keep showing you more and more of it.
So let me get this straight. TikTok created this system where, especially for younger users, they can be bombarded with harmful content and they're not doing enough to stop it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what these documents are suggesting. It's kind of a scary thought when you think about the long-term impact, especially for kids.
This is all incredibly disturbing. It really makes you wonder what's really going on behind all the fun dances and catchy songs, The difference between their public image and what these internal documents say is shocking.
I agree. They clearly know how addictive their platform can be and the potential harm, especially for young people. But when you look at their actions, it doesn't always line up with all their talk about safety and well-being.
It feels almost like a betrayal of trust, especially for the people who are on that app every single day for hours.
I get it. And it highlights a really important point, I think. As users, we can't just take in whatever's put in front of us. We have to be more careful about the information we're consuming and how these platforms are impacting our lives.
It's easy to get caught up in the endless scrolling, but at the end of the day, these platforms are designed to keep us engaged, even if it's not good for us.
100%. And that's why I think these conversations are so important. We need to be talking about this stuff and holding these companies accountable for the impact their products are having.
Absolutely. So where do we go from here? What can people listening do if they're concerned about their own TikTok use or their kids are on the app? What can people actually do? I mean, it feels like we're all just figuring this out in real time, right? These apps are so new, and we're just now starting to understand how they affect us, especially young people. So where do we even begin?
Yeah, It's a big question. No easy answers, really. But like you said, awareness is a big one, right? Just starting with an honest conversation, even if it's just with yourself, about how TikTok makes you feel, like when you're on it, when you're not. Even think about the people around you. Are they on it too?
So like taking stock of your whole relationship with the app, is it actually adding something to your life or just taking up your time?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to set some boundaries. Those time management tools, they're there for a reason. They might not be perfect, but hey, they're a start.
Taking control back from the algorithm, yeah. What about the stuff you see on there, the content itself? Any tips there?
Be mindful. Pay attention to how different types of content make you feel. If you catch yourself seeking out negativity, or if you just feel worse after scrolling, it might be time to change things up.
So unfollow those accounts that are bringing you down. Marie Kondo your feed.
Exactly. You have more power than you think. And this is huge for parents, obviously. Talk to your kids about what they're seeing, how it makes them feel, and why it's so important to be critical of what you see online.
Because kids especially, they might not even realize how the algorithm is messing with their experience, right?
Totally. Filter bubbles, that pressure to look a certain way, it's all happening behind the scenes. Open communication is key.
So really, knowledge is power, right? The more we know, both as individuals and as a society, the better equipped we are to handle all this.
Absolutely. And don't forget about collective action, support groups fighting for digital well-being and, ethical tech in general. Keep these companies on their toes.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the one thing you want to leave our listeners with today?
Remember, you're not just along for the ride. You've got a voice. You've got a choice in how you interact with all this. So demand better. Because who knows, maybe by having these conversations and shining a light on all this, we can actually create a digital world that's better for everyone, especially the next generation.
That's a great note to end on. It's a challenge, for sure, to be more mindful, more present, more in control of our relationship with technology. Definitely something to think about next time you pick up your phone.
So at the end of the day, this isn't just about talking. We know that TikTok manipulates. We know it's addictive. We know its risks and really what it poses to mental health, especially for our kids. As parents, it's our job to stand up, to take control, and to protect our children from these dangers. That means setting firm boundaries, whether it's limiting screen time or just taking the phone away completely. We can't afford to sit back and hope they figure it out. This is about building stronger, healthier kids for the future, even if it's hard or unpopular. Let's be the real parents they need to take action and safeguard their future. They deserve better than to be controlled by a platform that is designed to exploit them. Thanks for watching.